Michael had stated that the sermon title was The Power of Love. That is exactly what we will find out, that the power of God is the power of love. I'm going to read a few scripture verses before we start. I'm reading from 2 John, verse 7, and verses 9 to 11. For many deceivers have gone out into the world who do not confess Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. This is a deceiver and an antichrist. Whoever transgresses and does not abide in the doctrine of Christ does not have God. He who abides in the doctrine of Christ has both the Father and the Son. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this doctrine, do not receive him in your house, nor greet him, for he who greets him shares in his evil deeds. If we take this literally, the way the Apostle John has stated, we might miss the point of what he's trying to communicate to us. He's addressing a belief system that was prevailing for Gnosticism. They did not believe that Jesus Christ had come in the flesh. But the principle that John has laid out here is extremely important for the world. Not just for Christians, for the whole world. And I'm going to quickly go through this once again. For many deceivers have gone out into the world who do not confess Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. The principle here is for us. We might not deny that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh. We might not deny that. We might all profess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh. How we can be deceivers and antichrist is extremely important in the context of the power of God. So what Paul what the Apostle John is stating, whoever transgresses and does not abide in the doctrine of Christ does not have God. That's a principle. John is very emphatic on this, that if in any way we transgress the doctrine of Jesus Christ, we do not have God. What that means? That without Jesus Christ's revelation of God, we will not know God the way he should be known. He who abides in the doctrine of Christ, he who accepts everything that Jesus Christ has taught about God, he who abides in the doctrine of Christ has both the Father and the Son. This is how important Jesus Christ is for the world. So whoever accepts Jesus Christ's doctrine, whoever accepts all of the revelation that Jesus Christ has given of God, then they know both the Father and the Son. So we will not know the Father or the Son if we reject the final revelation of God, the final authority of God, who is the person of Jesus Christ. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this doctrine, if anyone comes and teaches us anything outside of the revelation that Jesus Christ has given of God, we should not receive it. And then he states do not receive him in your house nor greet him, for he who greets him shares in his evil deeds. What does that mean? That if in any way we accept any other way of understanding the scriptures, any other way of knowing God outside of the revelation of Jesus Christ, we should not be a part of it. Why? Because we will be sharing in their evil deeds. Jesus has revealed to us what is the power of God. He is still revealing to us through the Holy Spirit what is the power of God. And in your mind, think. When you think in terms of the power of God, what thought comes into your mind? What do you perceive as the power of God? God is love. And I'm going to preface that word love with agape. God is agape love. The Bible is very clear on that. This agape love is not just an attribute of God. This is the very essence of God. This is the very being of God. It is not just one of his attributes. This agape love is the power of God. Everything else God does, has done, and will continue doing will be based on this power of God. When he created the universe was created because of that power of his love. Such a love has been understood in two ways. And I'm emphasizing this. This love has been understood in two ways. One understanding has grasped and held on to agape love. The other understanding uses the word love but has not grasped the significance of that word love. So the agape is not in that love. One understanding goes to the very essence of God's being and reveals to us his character of agape love. The nature of such a love never operates with fear of punishment as its modus operandi. I'm going to read this again. The nature of such a love never operates with the fear of punishment as its modus operandi, its method of operating. The antithetical understanding of agape love believes that God uses punishment as a method, that God uses punishment, fear of punishment, and violence as a mechanism to control our behavior. Such methodology is used by God to instill fear in us so that we will be obedient to his commands. The Apostle John, with simplicity, clarity, and certainty, informs us that agape love has no fear in it as a way to bring about compliance to what one commands. And for this, I want us to look at 1 John chapter 4, verses 17 to 19. Love has been perfected among us. This love has been perfected among us. This love love, now we understand in the context of agape. Okay? Love has been perfected among us in this, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. That we may have boldness in the day of judgment. Because as He is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in agape love. There is no fear in agape love, but perfect love, agape love, casts out fear, because fear involves torment. And some of your versions might read, fear involves punishment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love. So he who fears God, not with an awe of God, but with a fear of punishment in their mind, have not been made perfect in love. They have not known God the way He should be known. We love God because He first loved us.
Amen.
When we have understood such a fact, we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. I'm going to look at two passages before we go into John chapter 18. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, in the context of God's power, keeping in mind what we have discussed so far. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 1 to 6. Now I, Paul, myself, am pleading with you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ, who in presence am lowly among you, but being absent am bold towards you. But I beg you that when I am present, I may not be bold with that confidence by which I intend to be bold against some who think of us as if we walked according to the flesh. Verse 3, for though we walk in the flesh, for though we live in this flesh, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. Very clear, Paul. We do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. So the weapons of our warfare is not of the flesh. It is not carnal, but mighty in God. That is the power of God. Mighty in God for pulling down strongholds, for pulling down everything that is contrary to the revelation that Jesus Christ gives of God. Casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ, and being ready to punish all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. I want us to look at verse 5 once again. Casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. What do you think Paul is trying to state here? In your mind, think, what is he saying? Casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. What are every high thing? Irrespective of wherever and however you are getting a knowledge that might be looked at as high things, that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Any source of knowledge that we are receiving that goes against the knowledge of God that is given by Jesus Christ. And he states it this way, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. So what he's stating is that Jesus Christ must be that final revelation for us in the context of we do not war the way the flesh would want us to war. So then we are living in the realm of the carnal nature, not in the realm of God's agape love. Let's turn to Ephesians chapter 6 from verse 12. Ephesians chapter 6 from verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might, the power of his agape love. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. So that we can stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places. What does this darkness of this age, spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places, are hell-bent on doing? To try and defame the character of God. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one. And taking the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. And also keep in mind, when we're talking in terms of the word of God, that's the written word of God, but we must also remember who else is the word of God? Jesus Christ. He is our ultimate revelation. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end, with all perseverance and supplication for all saints, and for me, that utterance may be given to me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains, that in it I may speak boldly as I ought. Now, let's turn to John chapter 18. And we are going to look at verse 28 and onwards. John chapter 18, verse 28 and onwards. Now keep this in mind. This is extremely important. This is early morning. In a few hours, Jesus is going to be murdered. He is now taken before Pontius Pilate. And this is what it reads. Then they led Jesus from Caiaphas to the praetorium, and it was early morning. But they themselves did not go into the praetorium, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. Can you imagine? This is a high Sabbath. It is the Passover, and it is also the Sabbath day. So it's a high Sabbath. These people are going to be responsible for the murder of Jesus Christ. And what they are concerned with? Keep the Sabbath, make sure they have the Passover meal, so that they will not defile themselves being around him and being in the wrong place. Pilate then went out to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man? They answered and said to him, if he were not an evil person, if he were not an evildoer, if he were not a criminal, we would not have delivered him up to you. Then Pilate said to them, you take him and judge him according to your law. Therefore the Jews said to him, it is not lawful for us to put anyone to death. What was their agenda? They wanted to murder Jesus Christ. It's clear. And they wanted to find a way to do it. That the saying of Jesus might be fulfilled which he spoke, signifying by what death he would die. Verse 33, then Pilate entered the praetorium again, called Jesus, and said to him, are you the king of the Jews? Jesus answered him, are you speaking for yourself about this, or did others tell you concerning me? So Jesus does not deny being called the king of the Jews. But we must grasp how Jesus perceives being the king of the Jews and how the flesh, the world, would perceive who should be the king of the Jews. Vast difference. Verse 35, Pilate answered, am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you to me. What have you done? And what had Jesus done?
Nothing.
What had Jesus done? That he was classed as a criminal, an evildoer, that he should be murdered, because they could not find how to murder him, so they wanted to use the Roman authorities. What did Jesus do? Every step of the way, the totality of his revelation, he did nothing else but try to undo the works of the devil. Every aspect of Jesus' life was to try and undo the works of the devil. And the greatest work that the devil had done was to malign, defame, soil the character of God. He used his own characteristics, his own personality, his own being, and demonized God with who he is. Jesus answered, my kingdom is not of this world. Now keep this in mind. This is no more than in about a few hours. Jesus is going to go to the cross. So whatever he's stating here, dear ones, we should pay very careful attention as to what he's saying. He's stating clearly, he's a king.
That's right.
But he's stating, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, if my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight, so that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now my kingdom is not from here. If we start unpacking just these words of Jesus, it is so profound, it's so full with such deep spiritual significance, that if we could understand the depth of what he's stating here, it would cleanse our minds of all the lies we have believed about God. He's stating clearly that if he operated as the kingdoms of the world is operating, if he was of that mindset, if God was of that kind of a mindset, there was no possible way that they could have taken him. No possible way they could have taken him, which means to say that Jesus and God would have used whatever militaristic power, violence, to deliver Jesus. Jesus here is stating that there is no violence in God, and I am giving that revelation. That's why he's saying, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight violence, so that I should not be delivered to the Jews, but now my kingdom is not from here. And something very interesting we know, when the flood came, the Bible is very clear that the world was filled with violence. So God was not in that violence, but the world was filled with violence. Pilate therefore said to him, "Are you a king then?" Jesus answered, "You say rightly that I am a king." He's acknowledging, you say rightly that I am a king. For this cause I was born, and for this cause I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice. So what Jesus is stating here, for this cause I was born, for this cause I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. What truth? The truth that Jesus has given of God. Nobody gave that truth of God until Jesus Christ came to this earth and gave that revelation. Nobody did. In its fullness, in its completeness, in its ultimate revelation, the only person that gave that was the person of Jesus Christ. That's why he said, I have come into the world that I should bear witness to the truth. Which means to say that the witness to the truth was not there prior to Jesus coming. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice. What does he mean by that? That everyone who accepts Jesus' revelation of God is the truth. Why? Because they are hearing his voice. They are not listening or hearing any other voice except the voice of Jesus Christ. Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" And he doesn't wait for Jesus to tell him what is truth. But Jesus did answer Thomas and make a very interesting statement. He said, "I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Yeah. So no one can come to the Father except the truth that Jesus Christ gives of the Father. That's why he would say, "I am the way, the way to God. I am the truth to God, and I am the life that is in God." Amen. Not the death. That's right. The life that is in God. That's right. I'm going to move from here because of time. I want us to look at verses 39 and 40 in a particular way before we move from here. But you have a custom that I should release someone to you at the Passover. Do you therefore want me to release to you the King of the Jews? Then they all cried again, saying, "Not this man, but Barabbas." Now Barabbas was a robber. Keeping these 39 and 40 in mind, I want us to go to Matthew 27 to help us to grasp what is involved here. Matthew chapter 27. This is extremely important with what we're going to look at now. Matthew chapter 27, verses 15 and onwards. Tying up with what we have just heard in 39 and 40. Now at the feast, the governor was accustomed to releasing to the multitude one prisoner whom they wished. And at that time, they had a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. Now some of you might have in your version where it clearly tells you the full name of Barabbas. In some of your versions, it clearly states that the name of this Barabbas was Jesus. The name of this Barabbas was Jesus. And his name was Jesus. Barabbas means what? Son of the Father. Go back and look at you go back and trace this. When I had traced this and studied this almost 30 years ago, it had one of the most profound impact on my whole understanding of the scriptures and my whole understanding of God. This Barabbas was also named Jesus, and that name Barabbas means son of the Father. Jesus' first advent. A choice was made between Jesus, the Messiah, the Son of God, and Jesus, Messiah, also Son of the Father. But they had two different fathers. Jesus' father was this non-violent God of the universe, this God of agape love. Barabbas' father was none other than the very person that Jesus defined and said, "You are of your father, the devil, and the desires of your father you want to do." He was a murderer from the beginning. Amen. And he does not stand in the truth because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources, for he is a liar and the father of it. Amen. Dear people, this is the first advent. Jesus is going to the cross. Matter of hours. We, the world, not just the Christian world, the entire world is going to make a decision either for Jesus Christ, the non-violent Messiah, because it clearly states in Isaiah, he had done no violence. He was the Prince of Peace because he had done no violence. Amen. That was the revelation that the Messiah came to give of God. So the world today is what? Filled with violence. And the world is making a choice between two different messiahs. Amen. And two different gods. One God, one Messiah, that is Jesus Christ, the true Son of God, that has given us the truth about God. The other Messiah is the one that is teaching us all the wrong things about God. And the Jewish people made a choice. I'm going to read this through And at that time, they had a notorious prisoner called Barabbas, Jesus Barabbas. Therefore, when they had gathered together, Pilate said to them, "Whom do you want me to release to you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Christ?" For he knew that they had handed him over because of envy. While he was still speaking on the judgment seat, his wife sent him a message saying, "Have nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered many things today in a dream because of him." What she calls him? A just man. What did they call him? An evil person. But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask for Barabbas and destroy Jesus. But the chief priests and the elders today, could they be doing the same thing?
Amen.
Could we be also following the chief priests and the elders and following the wrong Messiah, the wrong father? Because Jesus had told them, "You are of your father, the devil." Why? Because you believe God to be this violent God. The governor answered and said to them, which of the two do you want me to release to you?" They said, "Barabbas." Pilate said to them, "What then shall I do with Jesus, who is called the Christ?" They all said to him, "Let him be crucified." That's it. They chose a criminal. They chose a person that had come on the scene claiming to be the Messiah, using violence to bring in the kingdom of God. They, at that first advent, took this criminal as the Messiah. And they said, "Crucify him." Dear people, God has called us to give the eternal gospel.
Amen.
We have been given the most precious commission ever given to humanity.
Amen.
If we could only realize and plumb the depth of why God has called us, why we have to give the gospel. Of course, we don't want to do what the people did at the first advent. We don't want to follow the wrong Messiah. We don't want to crucify this true Messiah that gave us a true revelation of God. When Jesus made the statement to Pilate that you did not receive this power from any other source, but you received this power from heaven. In 5 minutes, I'm going to concentrate on this. And hopefully those that want to stay back and study with us later, we will explore this. Very seriously explore this. What does this mean? That the power was given to him from heaven.
Amen.
If we understand what we have discussed so far, the power that was given from heaven was the revelation of God's character of agape love. Agape love. Because God is agape love. Jesus revealed that agape love from heaven was giving who? Pilate, the leaders, the priests, the leaders, the elders, and the population. Giving them the opportunity to do what? To murder Jesus Christ. Why? Because that is agape love. Think of it. Figure that out. Wrestle with it. Don't let it just pass. Don't let others just cover things like this up. And then go from this portion of the Bible and that portion of the Bible and completely miss here. In within 4 hours, 5 hours, Jesus is going to be murdered. And Jesus is giving a revelation before this happens, so that there will be no possible way we would make this kind of a mistake. Agape love was the only reason that Pilate and the rest of them could do what they did, because only agape love allowed or gave that kind of a freedom for them to do what they did. If we have not this understanding of agape love, we will always come up with ways to justify violence that we want to perpetrate. Here, the most horrible, the most evil act that could have ever been performed in the universe, keep that in mind, in the universe, was the murder of the Son of God. And heaven allowed it. Now people will turn around and say, oh, the reason heaven allowed it, because predestined, Jesus was predestined to die. And I've heard that. It's a lie. That's a lie. Jesus came to reveal the character of God, and the cross revealed that character. So when heaven allowed the world to murder him, this innocent person, that proved what God is like.
Amen.
That God does not need to resort to violence
Right.
to even defend his own Son. And the power of the resurrection, dear ones, the power of the resurrection involves this, that Satan could not have one thing against Jesus Christ. There was not one thing that Satan could hold on the person of Jesus Christ. Why? Because the person of Jesus Christ gave that complete revelation of the Father. And because he gave that complete revelation of the Father without compromising into any act in Satan's domain, that power was in him, and that power was what resurrected him. My prayer for all of us, if we firmly believe that we are living in the final phase of world history, and this is a settled issue for us, then my prayer for all of us, and especially for those of us who have been called to give the three angels messages, that we will not go into any other domain of understanding the scriptures except the revelation that Jesus Christ has given of God. This is my prayer.
Amen.
Because I believe that's how important Jesus Christ is for the world and also for the universe.